Greetings once again, my friends, and welcome back to Drak Reviews, where today we're going to be taking on a little bit of a gem that I would have sorely missed if we were going by my actual list. So today we're going to be reviewing Candleman, and just to bring people up to speed, why did I take on this review? A listener from the Geek News Reviews and Opinions podcast actually recommended it to me since he knows I love platformers. And I really do appreciate that. I know I should probably say you guys' names, but I just don't feel all that comfortable about doing it. If you guys are okay with it, then just let me know in the suggestion. So let's go ahead and go over the various aspects of it, starting with the story. The story for Candleman is pretty simplistic. In fact, we pretty much get that in the Drak Tries. In case you guys haven't seen it, go and check it out. My thoughts on so basically the story is you are a little candle, and that's what you're called, the little candle, and you are making your way to a big lighthouse because you want to be able to, or the little candle wants to be able to be as bright as the lighthouse, and therefore you have to go through numerous levels, ranging in atmospheres that you can actually take on, from a broken down ship to a lush kind of foresty jungle-esque area like a swamp, and then even to the lighthouse itself, which has its own unique twist to it. It isn't a very long game story-wise, but yeah, that's the premise of it, is that you are a little candle trying to be as bright as the lighthouse. And I have no qualms with this. This is actually like a cute story to be able to show to family, to friends, and for everybody to be able to get more enjoyment out of it. I actually didn't take really any points off of story. This is as simplistic as you can get, but it does everything that it needs to do. Moving on to visuals. Holy crap. What can I say about this game? It's damn pretty. Which is funny because 80% of it is dark. And that actually plays into the gameplay a little bit, but I'm going to state how it works visually. You are in dark areas, and most of the time your candle isn't really lit. But when you light things up, you get to see like the full atmosphere that you're in. But the game, and we'll get into gameplay here, the game encourages you to not light up your wick when you don't need it. And so in a lot of cases, for most of these levels, you spend it a lot of the time in darkness, which can be both daunting for players, but also the coolest thing when you actually light things up and the entire environment just springs to life when you do so. It's kind of sad because obviously you want to be able to light your wick a little bit more, but gameplay-wise, it's not the wisest idea. But holy crap, visually, this is one of the prettiest games I've played this year. I have no problem admitting that, and it's an indie title. Moving on into gameplay, so it is a platformer. If you played Mario, if you played Mega Man, if you played Donkey Kong Country, you've played a platformer, and this one is a very simplistic one. Aside from, the jumps and the platforming, there's only really one other mechanic that comes into play, and that is your candle wick. Since you are a little candle, if you light that wick, you're gonna start disintegrating, and if you keep it lit too long, you could actually kill yourself, which is strongly encouraged that you not do, obviously. That's why I was saying in the visuals, a lot of the time is spent in the darkness, because you can't stay lit up for too long before you actually need to put it out so you can survive. You get about 10 lives each level, and the purpose the purpose of that is just because it's going to take... This game actually, I think, challenges you platforming-wise in the later levels. It actually does start to make you think outside the box more than I think a regular run-of-the-mill Mario has been doing for the last few years. And so that's an encouraging aspect. But aside from the wick and occasionally like having to break out of the norms that you're used to with platforming, this doesn't really change a whole lot, but it feels like, I don't know how necessarily to explain it other than feel, but because of its simplicity, it feels like there's a lot of depth to it. And I would tend to agree. I think it is a very deep game, especially when it doesn't necessarily take the platforming norms and it throws them on their heels, because one of the main reasons it does that is you're in darkness. You have to guess a lot of the time whether or not you're going to have a platform that you can jump onto. It's not even until later when you actually get places that are pretty well lit And you don't necessarily have to do that, but then they challenge you in other ways by doing moving platform puzzles, things like that. So gameplay, there really isn't a whole lot to take on or to take away from it, but because of its simplicity, there's a ton of depth to it. And I gave it full marks for that. I also gave it full marks for visuals. I really didn't have any issues with it. All right, moving on into the audio. That's a tricky one because, first of all, there isn't really a whole lot of music. And the music is very dull. It's turned down, and it's turned down for a reason. It helps with the atmosphere that this game is trying to tell. Am I necessarily going to fault it for that? Actually, no. The music that I was actually able to find here and there was great. And I love the fact that it was turned down, because this is, when you look at the way that this is trying to tell a story, this is kind of a hopeless situation for the little candle. And at that point, it doesn't make sense to have, da, 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 when you're bouncing around doing platforming. You're this tiny little candle. It makes more sense for you to be quiet. One thing that I will also compliment with it is the Foley design. Holy crap, that was amazing. Just the creaking of the ship. When you light things up in the jungle area, things just come to life and you can hear it. The other thing that I liked is when you get to the lighthouse itself, you can actually hear, because of the metal surfaces, you hear where you're walking, like tink, 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 tink. That's amazing to me. So I think that was really great on the Foley design. The voice acting, there really isn't a whole lot. There's voice acting from a narrator, and that's about it. And she sounded very familiar. I almost want to say it was the same narrator from Song of the Deep, but I have not been able to confirm that. But it was very similar to it, and I will give this woman props. She did an amazing job, just trying to give us the situation of the little candle's hopelessness. He wants to be able to be more than he is, and when he actually gets to that point, how satisfying it might be for him. So yeah, I can't really, I took off a little bit because of the audio. Again, this is one of those things where maybe they could have had a little bit more music, and I think it still would have helped the atmosphere a little bit more, but I didn't take a whole lot off. And now we're moving on into replay value and presentation. Now, replay value is kind of tricky. I do think it has it, but not as much as, like, say, Legend of Zelda does, kind of thing, where there's a lot of replay value, enough so that you'll get not hours, like days of replayability out of it. This one has a little bit, but I think it's just enough. So in every level, there are candles that you can light, and if you light them all, you are able to get at least to my knowledge, a true ending to the game, and also, obviously, trophies and achievements. This is a game that's on Xbox right now, so I don't know if it's going to get moved over to PlayStation 4. It should. I think it should get that notice, but that's basically the replay value of it, is trying to go into those levels and find the candles that you missed, and when you find them, you actually get like an extra line in the story. Each level is a line of the story, so like the little candle goes through this area, and then if you get all the candles, then you get an additional thing, having to deal with these things in its path, kind of deal. And so I do like the replay value here, but it's not to the level of like Mario where you're going to get days. I think you're going to get a couple of hours out of it, and that's fine. Overall presentation, does this come together to provide a good experience for the player? Absolutely it does. I have no problem giving it that. Even for as much problems that I had with the audio work, it all comes together to bring life to this little candle's journey, to get you invested in the little candle's journey, and to hope that he succeeds. I mean, like when I got to the end, unfortunately, I wasn't able, I don't think I was able to get the true ending for it. And if there is no true ending, I'll double check it once this is edited, but I was able to get my ending, and my ending was emotional. So at that point, I was very much invested in the overall presentation of Candleman, and cannot more than enough give a big props to Spotlightor Entertainment. I think it's the company that makes it. So yeah, presentation, this game comes together awesomely, especially for like families who are looking for a platformer to play. I wholeheartedly recommend this to you guys. And that's why Candleman has no problem getting a solid 9 out of 10 from me. It's a tiny little indie game with a whole lot of heart. and I cannot help but recommend this to everybody I know, especially to the people who like played Unravel last year. This is very much in that vein. It makes you feel things, and it does it really, really well. But yeah, 9 out of 10, and that's going to go ahead and do it for my review of Candleman. Please check this out if you guys haven't already. It is on Xbox One, so Xbox fans rejoice. I do know also, I think it's on PC, so you guys can check that out on Steam also. And yeah, that's going to go ahead and do it for my review. Thank you guys so much for all that you do for my channel. Continue to subscribe, to give a like to these videos so that I can continue making them. Give a comment, give me some feedback, or even just tell me how much you like the video or how much you like the game. I always like to hear from you guys. Continue to recommend me to your friends and family so that we can continue the subscribe train as well as this channel's momentum a-going. And of course, I will see you guys next time.